Thank you guys for joining. So I titled this How Conservatives Indoctrinate Kids with White Supremacy. Yeah. And we're kind of carrying off on our previous conversation we had last week. And the conversation I had with Liz about her experiences in a rural area. Deidre, what are your thoughts? And hopefully Natasha Kay will join us, but for now, we're just going to get started.
Yeah, so I was telling Walter the conversation that you had with Liz was so like traumatizing almost for me because I didn't go to public school in a rural area, but my children did, right? Um Four of my big kids graduated from high schools in Northwest Ohio, in rural Ohio. So the what she was describing, I was like, "Oh my God, is this what my children lived through?" And,
Yeah.
they told me about some experiences they had there, but I'm sure they didn't tell me all of what they experienced
Yeah.
there, right?
Yeah.
But when she was talking about the sort of weaponization of bodily functions, it reminded me about my son. So we moved to Ohio when my son was in sixth grade and he started playing football. And the first thing I noticed about this football stuff is that everybody, like the culture around it was really obnoxious. Like
Yeah.
people would yell at other people's children on the field. Um, Little kids were in the stands cussing. I mean, it was really weird. And we moved from Atlanta, where say what you want to say about the South, but manners is still a real thing, right? And this was not that. It was really, I found it really obnoxious right away. And then when my son was so he played sixth grade, seventh grade. When he was in eighth grade, I don't even remember what happened. I think he was in the running to take somebody's first string spot. And
Oh,
I got home one day and my husband's like, "Don't freak out." And I'm like, "What happened?"
yeah.
And he's like, "I need you not to freak out. I'm handling this. Don't worry about it." Okay. He tells me that Jay came home that day and told him that someone urinated on his football equipment. And I was like, "What? Who
Yeah.
does this? Who does this?" So Reggie was dealing with the coach, but at this point, I'm like, I have to have a conversation with my son because hi,
Hi,
Natasha.
she's eating.
It's so nice to
Right.
meet you.
Well, thank you for your urgency. And she shows up with a mouthful of food. But well, I hope you brought some for everybody, Natasha. It's like, come on.
Share with the class. Share with the class.
All right, finish up your story. Then we'll do introductions. But yeah.
Yeah. So I just remember having that conversation with my son and saying to him, like, I don't want you making friends with these kids. Like,
Yeah.
these are not your people. Right. And this culture, this gross, I said to him, what has to be happening at this kid's house for him to think this is okay? For him to
Yeah.
think this is acceptable, right? What would happen if you came home and the
Yeah.
coach called me and said that you had urinated on someone's equipment? And Jay was like, "I would never do that, Mom. I would never do that." And I'm like, "No, I understand you wouldn't, but
Yeah.
I don't even want you around people who would."
And was this predominantly a white place that they were
Oh,
at? This was a
yes.
white. So was
Yes,
this was
yes,
a racial
yes.
attack? Is what?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I've got a couple of stories that play into that, but it's great to see Natasha and you guys hadn't met each other. Will couldn't be with us today. He's totally fine. Everybody don't worry about Will. But Natasha jumped in. I just like at the last minute. Natasha, jump on.
Thank you.
Yeah, because I wanted you guys. I like these meetings of mine. So did you have any response to what Deidre was just saying? Natasha, I'm sure you've had to deal with that as a mother too.
Well, I missed half of it, but
Yeah,
I mean, it
well, you got the
sounds
most.
like very familiar based off of what I've heard thus far. So, um,
Yeah. Eh, yeah. I mean,
was it basically? it- Do you want can you summarize? I'm so
Yeah.
sorry
So
for being late. But,
that's okay. We moved from Atlanta to Northwest Ohio, Ada, Ohio, which is a town of about 3,000 people, college town, right? So there's the whole town and dichotomy there. But and basically all of the people, almost everyone from that is Black or Hispanic or international in that area is associated with the university in one way or another, right? So my kids very visibly, when we moved there, my child was like, "We doubled the Black population here, Mom."
Yeah.
That was like a joke, right? But not he wasn't wrong. My kids were very often the only Black kids in the class. So he was playing on a football team, started playing football there, was in 8th grade playing on a football team, got into some kind of conflict over a position with another player, and that person urinated on his equipment. Like, he went to practice one day and his equipment was in the shower and had been urinated. So my husband, knowing that this is not like, I'm a mama bear. You're not gonna mess with my kids, you know? My husband was like, "I'm gonna deal with it. I'm gonna handle it. I'm gonna deal with the coach. You don't need to worry." But that was the last year my son played football, because the whole culture around it was so obnoxious and, you know, gross. Like, I was telling Walter, people would scream at other people's kids on the field, which I was
Yeah.
like, who does this? This is not, I grew up in New York. 7th graders don't even play tackle football in New York. Like, that's not a thing. And even in Atlanta, where football is king, to be clear, um, it's still not this. Like, kids playing on a team are still kids. And people have manners, and it's right. Like, it's culturally very different than it was in Northwest Ohio.
Mm. Yeah. Um, I mean, I empathize. I've definitely had similar type situations with my daughter. She's 21 now, but when she was in high school, because we actually lived in Georgia, Alabama, but basically Georgia. She went to school in
Mhm.
Columbus and everywhere. So, um, that is something that, it is when you're a Black person in a space, or a brown person in a space where you're the only one. Um, it is
Yeah.
really hard, to adjust to. And I feel like in those spaces, a lot of those small towns, those people aren't going to have the level of awareness that we do, and, um, it's just like, unfortunately, a lot of ignorance that, we have to deal with. And I say that in the sense that, I mean, just people literally not
Not knowing.
knowing. Yeah. Yeah.
What one of the real interesting focuses and what I want to keep kind of coming back to is I don't know if you got a chance to read that article I sent you, Natasha, but because I grew up in that really conservative community, and it was just this. It is so I've seen like the white supremacy indoctrination from the other side, where it's like just where they try to crush the empathy out of you, and like my own life has been this process of like you have to kind of like go through that developmental process so you're not like these jerks, but it is so normalized. But there's a lot of things that I do that are instinctive. And like when my kids got involved with sports, I'm at every single practice. And I just like, you can be in sports. I'm gonna stand here and make sure you're not
Mhm.
treated with any kind of disrespect. And it's just like, there's something just important where it's like, okay, that just has been a buffer this whole time. And I'm kind of been looking back at it, like even at the games. And I mean, I'm noisy at the games, but it's always positive. But there's a lot of times you're watching in the stands, and I'll tell my kids what to do. I'll encourage them, but in Spanish. And there'll be times when we're in like some rural town in the middle of northern Wisconsin where I'm screaming in Spanish, and the whole gym just goes quiet.
Mhm.
But one of the things I learned, and one of the going back, we had that interview with that woman who was dealing with those rural kids, and it's terrifying because they can be so violent. And part of it is going back to even when I was a child and I was 9. You just have to stand up to these bullies, and it's really hard. I was talking with my wife about it too, being Latina, and she has to put up with crap. And she's not a particularly big person, but she can be ferocious. And just that ability to stand down. And I think just our whole culture needs to get to this because we just passively allow these bullies. I mean, I keep saying, imagine if, the Nepo baby tyrant who is currently in the Oval Office, imagine if that was a student in your classroom. Imagine the things you should say to that student. And we should first be
Right.
talking to students in our classroom like that. And we should also be talking to him like that. So I guess I'll let you guys talk. I kind of get prattling on about things. Any responses?
Yeah,
I
I used to. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Natasha.
Well, Deidre, I was actually going to ask you, like, kind of building on that. What was your experience like when you guys moved there? Dealing with your son, and I'm assuming you were the only black adult, one of the only black adults in that area
Yeah.
too.
Yes. So I was telling Walter. So we moved there for me to take a teaching job, teaching law students. And so I was teaching law students in rural Ohio, for whom I was the, absolutely the first Black authority figure many of them had ever encountered, right? And so that had, you know, I also, to be clear, I'm 5'1", so
Yeah. Well, you're a
this
lawyer.
tiny,
The
I'm
lawyer is what you got to pivot to. Yeah.
tiny. And and at that time I was 31 years old. So it's very young and looked even younger, right? And so you can imagine the kinds of nonsense that I got at the front of the classroom. Nothing like what Liz described, to be clear, right? But the very first year that I was teaching, I made it my business. And I will always, always, always credit one of my mentors, who is a blonde lady about 5 feet tall. And she was like, listen, the first time that they try you, you have to just whack them across the head with a 2x4.
Yep.
Metaphorically, right? She was
Yeah.
like, just make it your business to make it clear that that's not going to happen.
Oh, well, that's good.
Right? That they're not going to disrespect you. And the first time it happened, I'll never forget this. The first time it happened, I called in a student who was like, well, I haven't read. And I was like, okay, I'll wait. And I just stood at the podium and waited for him to read the material. And he was like, well, this is a waste of time. We don't have time. And I was like, nope, this is my classroom. So I get to say what we have time for.
Yeah.
I'll wait. And so people learned. They were like, don't go to Keller's class if you haven't read, because she'll just look at you until you read the case, right?
Yeah.
And
Well, that's the high
became
school.
like
You're teaching college then, though,
I
right?
was teaching law students.
Yeah. You might have to just shift
Why
over.
are you in a law school classroom
There you go.
and you haven't read? Right? That's crazy business. So my students learned very quickly, like, Keller's not playing. She
Yeah.
is going to expect you to do your work.
Yeah.
Right? And thank God for that mentor who was like, you can get nicer over the course of your semester or whatever, but you can't establish boundaries after the fact, right? You have to do that first. And so I did. But yeah, it was funny enough, a lot of the nonsense that I got was more gendered than it was racialized.
Okay.
I think in part because this is gonna sound funny, but I think it's true. I had very long hair at the time, and I used to wear it pulled back every day, like pulled back in a bun every day. And so I don't actually think that my students could place me racially. Like, I think a lot of them were like, what are you? Are you Hispanic? Are you Indian? What are you? So I think they spent a lot of time trying to figure it out, right? Which is kind of funny for me because I grew up in the Bronx, which is very diverse, right? And so I was kind of used to people thinking I was Dominican or thinking, right? Like, I was used to
Right.
having all the time. I joke that people always think I am whatever they are. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
people tend to think I'm Indian, and I get, if you're someplace where there are lots of Ethiopian folks, I get that all the time. So I think I didn't get as much racial pushback as I did gendered pushback. Like, I literally had a student ask me out on a date in a class. In a classroom.
That's a bold kid.
Let me take you out to
Wow.
dinner. And I was like, what?
Yeah.
Who does this? Who does this?
Yeah.
So I've
That's
got
boundary.
stuff like that.
Yeah.
That was more gendered than racialized.
That reminds me of Jurassic Park, the velociraptors checking the fence. And that's actually kind of that's what they do, though. But do you have any thoughts, Natasha?
I grew up, my background is very complex, but I'm mixed. So my dad is from Ghana, born and raised, and came here in the 70s. And met my mom, who is white, and they got together. And so I personally never had the experience, never had the ability to integrate into the Black community like I felt like I should have, because my mom was white, didn't, she didn't teach me about my culture or anything. And then my dad, they divorced when they were younger, but also he's African, and it's different than Black American. They have a different mindset. Like my dad is a Trumper, hardcore, like
Yeah.
literally verbatim called himself a white supremacist, or sorry, a white nationalist, but he's Ghanaian. So my experience was, all of that, struggling with my identity my whole life, because I wasn't around people like me. And when I was, I didn't know how to act. I didn't have parents who, were social and things like that. But I've lived in areas where I'm the only Black person. And, I remember being in different high schools, and being one of the only Black people. And at the time, not realizing, I mean, it might not even necessarily be like bullying incidents like your son experienced, though my brother did experience a lot of that, being like one of the only Black kids there, in a lot of the places that we lived, and just seeing that and not being able to like identify why I felt uncomfortable or whatever in that situation. Now looking back, I see just how racism it's not always going to be directly like somebody pissing all over your stuff. It's not necessarily going to be somebody dunking you in the toilet, but when you are ignored by people, when you're, cast off, and, you just don't really have any friends. I know, Deidre, I'm sure, when you go somewhere and, you see another Black person in the room, that's where you're headed, because that's your people, that you're going to be safe with. But, yeah, it's like a tough thing to navigate. And then now the kids, I feel like I mean, it has gotten worse objectively, with social media and bullying and all of that stuff. And we're seeing Black kids hanging themselves, or sorry, not hanging themselves, being hung. We're seeing all of these atrocities being done to our people still. And I don't know. Sorry, I'm just going on like a tangent, but
No, I mean, it's so important,
I,
all your and like
it's
all oh, go ahead, I'm sorry.
no, go ahead.
I that isolation tactic, and I've had the opportunity to teach in South America, and it was like that was an eye-opening experience too. So many of the things, these forms of indoctrination that are normalized, and like this tactic where or this idea, peeing on somebody's um equipment. Well, and then if you're like, well, that's a racist crime. And then they'll be like, well, let's not call it that. You'll get pressure for that. It's like, let's damn well call it that.
It was because that's what it was.
Right. Yes. I
And it's
know
literally
that
the only person that,
Right. I know that if a conflict like that had occurred between two white kids, the answer would not have been, I'm going to urinate on his equipment. Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So that's where it gets. But I literally had someone like I told this story to someone, and they were like, well, do you really think that it was about race? Or maybe it was like the town and gown thing. Like, people know your son is associated with the university, blah, blah. And I was like, why? How do people know that my son is associated with you? How? How do
Yeah.
they know? They know because that's really the only reason that there are Black people in this community.
Mhm.
So it's still about race. Like, you're making a point for me.
Right.
Right. But even having those conversations is so infuriating, because it's like, you're telling me that I'm not experiencing what I'm experiencing.
Yeah.
But I know what I'm experiencing. And I know you've never, because I was talking to a white woman. This was a conversation with a white woman. And this kind of thing where, I know what I'm experiencing happened all the time. Like, a good example of this is I have my middle child was a musician and a theater kid, and here, there, and everywhere. And so he was constantly like, I have this event here at 2:00 and I have to be here at 6. He's always running. So one day she's literally running with another classmate who happened to be biracial. So this is my child. These boys could be brothers, right? They was like both sort of mixed looking kids. Even though my child is not biracial, he is. Both of his parents are Black. But uh, so running down the street, and this dude who's a neighbor of ours, lives 3 blocks away, comes out and is like, "What are y'all running from?" And is like almost trying to like discipline these kids. So they come to the house and tell us this has happened. And I'm like, absolutely not. Absolutely. Show me exactly where the house he came out of.
Mhm.
And I go down there and I hand him my business card. And I'm like, listen, these boys are my boys. You see them doing something, you have questions, you call me. Don't be pulling my kids up on the street. That's crazy work.
Right.
Right. And there's no need for it. Literally, the kid is going from like a band event to a theater event. Like, these are not kids you need to worry about. You have something to say to them. You say it's me.
Yeah.
And I took my husband, but my husband is 6 feet tall. Right. It's like, this is my husband. You have something to say to them. You say it to him. You say it's me. Don't do that. Because if it was 2 white kids running down the street, you wouldn't have said anything.
Exactly.
So,
Exactly.
but it was like a constant thing.
Yeah.
Right. And the conversation you had with Liz really made me think about how my children experienced it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which of course I have thought about before, but not in the sort of visceral way that she was describing. You know?
Natasha?
I mean, I guess I'll go, I'll just give an example of a situation that I have where, I mean, and it's similar to Deidre's. I mean, they're all, if you bring a group of Black folks together, like we're all going to have the same experience, the same gaslighting and, being told that you're doing something that you're not, whatever it is. And it took me way too long to realize that I wasn't going crazy, essentially, It actually wasn't until the DNC where I really found my voice because I had been experiencing such severe racism, and I was pissed because this is what I was there fighting for, you know what I mean?
Right.
So to be told that, I'm being aggressive for kindly asking people not to give each other COVID, things like that, like little coded words that they know were absolutely racist. And yeah, I think it's just important to call it out every single time. I love that you went to their house like that. And, it's sad also, though, that we have to do this because white parents, it's just not something to have to worry about another Trayvon situation with
Right.
our own kids just playing in their own neighborhood, just walking to their own schools. Like, we aren't safe
Well,
here.
Yeah.
absolutely.
And
And
this is
this was,
yeah.
Tamir Rice died
Yeah.
100 miles from my house. And this same kid that I'm telling you is running, right? He was at a band event that, like, he was walking home from his middle school when I heard that Tamir Rice had died. They were the same age. Tamir Rice and Dee are the same age.
Yeah.
And I just remember being like, just like feeling the feeling of that, and think like that could be my kid. He could be in the wrong place at the wrong time. I'm the mother
Yeah.
of 5 boys. And stuff like, and this kind of gets to something that you talk about a lot, Walter. My 6-year-old was gifted, when he was 6, was gifted a toy gun. And I was like, you absolutely cannot have this.
Mhm.
But that can't live in this house. Like, it has to go in the garbage.
Yeah.
And first of all, who gives a 6-year-old a toy gun? Let's start there.
In
right?
these times, come on.
Yeah.
But
This isn't the
right,
90s
or at all, right? But I think
at
this
all,
is
but
like,
yeah.
again, this is like rural culture. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
agriculture is
Yeah.
a part of rural culture. And my
Mhm.
children have never been around guns. Never. Right. And so when he got that, I was like, oh, you can't have this. Your friends
Yeah.
might be able to play with these things, but you can't play with this. And I threw it in the trash.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And that, that feeling of like my kids are in the world, every parent feels that feeling.
Yeah.
But when you're the mother of Black children and of Black boys in particular,
Yeah.
that feeling is heavy on you every day,
Yeah.
you know?
I'm gonna say something that I haven't really talked about out loud yet, but I eventually will. And I'm just gonna grab a tissue because
Mm,
my ex-husband is a white supremacist. And thank God our son is like me. I made sure of that. We realized we were going to get divorced around COVID times. Before that, it was Black Lives Matter movement. This was when we were in Georgia area. And Breonna Taylor had been killed, murdered, and George Floyd had been murdered. And this was when I really started to wake up politically and become aware of what was happening because I voted, of course, in all the elections, Democratic. My very first, it might have been Bush because again, my dad's like a staunch Republican. I can't remember who I voted for first, but voted Democrat. But I just started seeing the shit that was happening and seeing with my own eyes that human beings were being put in concentration camps and held there for months. I started volunteering because I was like, this is inhumane. This is crazy. And I started becoming active. Whereas my now ex-husband was explaining to me that he was like becoming less interested in being kind to people. And, I was like, well, that's
yeah.
not how I feel. And so when it came down to the murders and, I'm trying to raise awareness because we had never, and like, again, this is a long story, but we had never had these conversations. I honestly didn't think to when I got married in my 20s.
Mhm.
Um, I learned a lot. You live and you learn. But, him saying that Breonna Taylor shouldn't have been with a drug dealer. She should have known
Mm.
what was gonna come with the territory. I said she got shot in her own fucking house.
Yep. Yep.
You should have known. George Floyd, hey, he was a robber, whatever the fuck. And I'm like, you know what? I've got Black kids,
Mhm.
and this is disgusting. And so I left, but my son now, with the way things are going, my ex has become more emboldened. And it's crazy because before he would say he wasn't political. Now he admits he's to the right and he sends my son home in American flag t-shirts and shit like that because he's trying to be very intimidating. My son tells me about conversations, literally the Super Bowl, Bad Bunny. I wanted to know, what did you watch the Super Bowl, so he didn't watch the regular Super Bowl show. I asked him if I showed him a picture of the Charlie Kirk one or whatever, and he said, "Yeah, yeah, that's what we watched." Because my dad said that they're not American or something, and I was like, "Wow,
Puerto Ricans are Americans.
Yeah.
okay." I said, "Yeah," but my son already knew this was occurring. Like he knows about this stuff, but these are the things that like my
Yeah.
ex planting in my son actively, and it's because he hates me and everything about, and he's just a full blown supremacist. So it really sucks like having
Yeah.
to try to combat that in these times right now because he does have a gun and he is the type to he wants our son to shoot guns.
Yeah.
He's
Yeah.
he's become a bit radical and it's hard to
Yeah.
navigate that.
Yeah.
So for me, I'm just doing what I can and trying to um, teach him. Unfortunately, I feel like, I've had to have more serious conversations with him than I should, but it's because I know that his father is
Yeah.
actively trying to implant and indoctrinate
Yes.
him with these white
Indoctrinate.
supremacist
Yep.
ideals. And you're not going to do that to my
Yeah.
son. My son knows better. He tells me he recognizes it right away. My dad said that he thought that trans people were weird. I don't agree with that.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. So,
Exactly.
Natasha, strength to you. And let me just say, love to you. We all love you. All the people in the chat have been sending you love too.
Thank
So,
you.
and this is such a big part of what I want to talk about because we can dismantle it. And like I said, I grew up in a log cabin my parents built. That's how, like, you're not going to meet other people like that.
Mhm.
And that was our family thing. We went out and shot guns all day. I do not like shooting guns. I shot guns all day long. I have shot guns with military snipers who are not as good a shot as I am. I haven't shot a gun in 25 years. But I've had to come out of this, and I wanna be a resource because I don't like going back into that mindset. I don't like it. It's pain. It's nothing but pain. But if with leading questions like that conversation we had with Liz the other day, it put my brain right back into what I was like when I was 6, 7, 8, 9, being indoctrinated in these classrooms. And you can see the weakness of this. This ideology is vulnerable, but and I know that I can probe my memories and these really painful memories, and I can find weaknesses. And I want to have these conversations where we can beat them. And like these tactics they use, the dehumanizing tactics, I mentioned it. Like they would do their 4-H. You'd see the kids, it's like the
Mm.
farm thing. Oh, we give you a piglet, you raise it, and then we slaughter it. And the kids would, I mean, it's
Oh,
trauma.
that's what
It's
they do
trauma.
in 4-H club?
Yeah, well, these kids would come to
Oh, I didn't
school
know
after
that.
all their animals. I mean, and it was like they train these
Oh my
animals,
gosh.
they love them, and they'd come like they were lobotomized back to school, and they were
That's so
never the same
sad.
kid after that. Where they just and my dad actually said that about puppies. He's like, "Why would you wanna get a puppy? It just dies and then you feel bad." And that's their mindset though, and it's sort of like we can't just listen to it and react. We have it's I can get into that mind because I was walking that path, like not that whole way, not to the point because I was constantly rejecting it, but also the constant pressure to normalize it. And that's why I keep saying to people, because every time I say, if you got these people that are this rude, you have to humiliate them. That's our tactic. We can't, because everybody's like, well, we have to understand them. We can't set them in
No,
their ways.
not
It's like, no,
anymore.
you
Fuck
end
that.
that. And it's like
Mhm.
humiliation makes people humble. It's how you teach humility. And that's the
Mhm.
thing the white supremacists lack. So
Yes.
again, yeah, strength and power to
Humbling.
you, Natasha. And the more we learn, the more powerful we are is kind of the way I am. So I'll
Yeah.
let you guys respond.
Absolutely. Well, I want to say something about indoctrination because I think that this is, yeah, I've thought a lot about sort of rote memorization, rote indoctrination since
Yeah.
our prior conversation. And I am, I, when we talked about this, I was kind of like, maybe there is a role for, like, there's a basic set of things that we all have to agree to, right? So for me, one of those is like empathy is good. Like, I didn't think
Yeah.
we had to have that. I didn't think that was a conversation that needed having. But, some of the most powerful people in this country are out here talking about how empathy is a sin and all kind of nonsense, right? And so, but here's the thing. I went through an indoctrination, which was because I was raised very Catholic, like all girls Catholic, high school Catholic, right?
Mhm.
When my mother was living, she went to church every day Catholic, not every Sunday, every day. Okay. So super Catholic. And the thing that brought me out of Catholicism was critical thinking, right? So the thing that I will say about that all girls Catholic school is that, yes, it was a Catholic school, but also they really empowered us to think for ourselves, And so that seems like a contradiction in terms, but it was true. And the thing that brought me out of Catholicism was there, and I told this story, I think, to Will, when we were talking about like the development of my race consciousness. But I was in high school when there was like a big brouhaha about the St. Patrick's Day parade, specifically about an LGBTQ group participating in the St. Patrick's Day parade. I had a very good friend that I knew since the fourth grade, who everybody knew was gay, right? And so I didn't know until then that Catholicism, like what the Catholic doctrine towards the LGBTQ community was. And once I learned that, I was like, what? Like, the Catholicism that the way that I understood Catholicism up until then was like a very loving, you care for others, blah, 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 right?
Mm.
You do your service, like all of that kind of stuff. And so that kind of woke me up. And I started going down the road of like, what other Catholic doctrine do I not know about, right? And one of the first things I realized is how long it took for the Catholic Church to see Black people as humans. And I was like,
Huh.
oh, I can't have anything to do with this organization.
Yeah.
And so I left Catholicism when I was like 15, right? And to my mother's credit, she was like, this is your faith journey, right? I
Yeah.
have my
Yeah.
faith, you have yours. You have your journey with it. And I went to all kinds of other churches, never, and I from
Yeah.
that point on, I was suspicious of organized religion. And so my
Mhm.
children are the first children in my family who are not baptized as babies. And I did that on purpose, right? Because I was like, I'm not going to indoctrinate my kids. I want them to think for themselves. And I don't want them to have to overcome
Yeah.
this indoctrination, you
Yep.
know?
Yeah.
And that's why we can't be tolerant of religion in schools because, I mean, so much of it, and they always say if they teach critical thinking, people eventually leave the church. They didn't teach that it was Pope Alexander VI who made the decree that, heretics can be enslaved. And once heretics started realizing they could convert to Christianity to be free, they had to retrofit the Bible to equate sin with skin color. I mean, Christianity invented racism. That's a thing.
Yeah.
I want to.
Mormonism is another religion or, faction or whatever too that, is totally racist and still is. But it's like,
Yeah.
so when I see Black Mormons, I'm like, why? Like,
Yep.
really,
Yep.
organized religion as a whole. My dad was indoctrinated at fucking Liberty University. That's when he first came to America,
Yep.
and that's where he got his whole education. So that is all my dad knows. And I feel like we don't talk enough about like how deep the religion aspect of it goes, and then also who decided that was the thing to do. I'm guessing maybe like the CIA
Oh,
because
well,
they did a lot of this shit. But it's just crazy how deep and systemic it is, how deep it goes.
I always say that the white supremacy is a defilement of, it's a branch on the tree of Christianity. There's all the different branches. White supremacy is one of them, and they better wake up because that white supremacy branch wants to kill every other branch. So it would be nice if we could appeal. I've tried to do this, appeal to churches to say, look, they're rounding up Christians. The people coming up from South America are Christians. I want to get back to something else you said, though, Natasha, about because my kids have never met my dad. That's another thing. I eventually had to cut that out. And these other people that are too like, well, you have to listen and you have to try to appeal to these groups. It's like, I tried to do that for the first 26 years of my life, and it's like, even when I was little, I knew there was something really wrong with my dad, especially when he was beating on me. It's sort of like something's not right about this. So it's like, let's try to appeal to him. Let's try to see it from his point of view. And it's like, I tried to do it until I have kids. I'm like, no fucking way. And my kid's going to have to put up with that. And then he's all pissed off. And one of the things I say, one of his defining traits, and I think this is a defining trait of white supremacy, is his only reaction is if somebody's not feeling bad, he just waits for them to then feel better. Just wait. It's like, and I went through this a lot in my life too. And I had to learn to accountability. I said something shitty to somebody. I need to, go through reparations. I have to make it better. And if I can't make it better, I spend the rest of my life, paying it forward. That's kind of what we have to learn. But he was a person, and this is the don't say things that make me feel bad about myself BS, And it's like, well, sometimes feeling bad about yourself is what you need. I mean, that's why if you turn in a paper and if you get 99 wrong out of 100, you got to feel a little bit bad about yourself, And we need to apply that to our schools. But yeah, like with my dad, he'd say something, and then if I would, he would gut us. He could gut you with something that he said. And then if you bring it up, it's like, well, why are you making me feel bad about this thing I said? Obviously, it was a joke. So yeah, they instantly turn it back on themselves. And I don't have this framework completely constructed yet. And I'm appealing to you guys for your help. And just because, but I don't, like I said, I don't like going back to that. But I've been like part way down the road to thinking like that. And if I dig through my memories, I know that like the patterns of what they think and the justifications they'd make. And I think in exploring that more and writing it all down and creating this framework of the white supremacist mind that empowers us to just destroy them. And he's a person too, because when you throw it back at him, when I would find the ways that he did things wrong, But yeah, like this thing, it's like his grievance. It's so mean. You don't let me meet my grandkids. It's like, you have to prove to me that
Oh,
you won't say something that will hurt my
yeah,
grandkids. And that's my boundary. And that was the word Daedra was kind of saying before. But we need those boundaries. And right now, our boundaries enable white supremacy and they're exclusive of compassion and rational thinking. So we need just this massive cultural recalibration
Shit.
and just things like, like being tolerant if people are pro life. That's violence against women, your viewpoint. And if it makes people cry to tell them that, you have to hold them accountable. It doesn't matter if it's like some little old lady who's believed this and she makes cookies for the
right.
neighborhood. If
Like, it
she's pro
sucks,
violence
but
against women, yeah, go ahead.
sorry, I'm sorry, I was just agreeing with you, like, yeah, it sucks, but I mean, it is what it is, like, you just gotta call it
Yeah.
out, right?
Yeah. We have
Yeah,
to
and
do those. Go
in
ahead.
a way, this is a conversation about what it means to learn, right? Because this is the thing, learning is uncomfortable, right? To go
Can
from
be.
not
Yeah.
knowing a thing to knowing a thing, you have to recognize that you don't know that thing, right?
Yes.
And the fact of the matter is, there's always going to be stuff you don't know. There's always going to be stuff right? Like my goal, I'm always trying to develop lifelong learners because the world is constantly changing. The law is constantly changing.
Right.
I need my students, like one of the skills I need them to have and develop is recognizing when they don't know, right? And getting comfortable in that not knowing because you can figure it out or you can
Yeah.
call someone who's an expert. Like, I'm never going to know tax law deeply. I, I don't have any desire to know tax law deeply, but I know some great tax lawyers, right? And so when I see a tax issue, I know I don't know that. I'm going to call someone who does know it. I'm going to refer
Yeah.
whoever I'm talking to the person who does know it, right? I have my own tax issues. I'm going to call my tax lawyer. Like, it's really okay to not know all the
Yeah.
things. But you cannot learn if you can't recognize,
Yes.
right? And sit in the discomfort of not knowing. It's okay to be uncomfortable. Like, it's not going to kill you to be uncomfortable. But this is one of those white supremacy things, right? This entitlement to comfort. Like,
Mhm.
Yes.
Black
Yes.
do not have that in America. You
No, we
know,
do not.
women do not have that. I don't know where women have an entitlement to comfort, right? Like, relative to white women have more entitlement to comfort than women of color, but still, like, this is why I'm often so frustrated with white women because I'm like,
Yeah. Yeah.
no, right? You know what it feels like to be in a scenario
Mhm.
where some inherent aspect of you is the thing that's putting you in danger or is the thing that's making your life hard.
Yeah.
And yet, you can't go from there. You can't stretch a little bit to see how race operates similarly.
Right.
Yeah.
It's the same. They're being oppressed as well by white men.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, why can't they take that feeling and apply it to, damn, well, Black women must be feeling oppressed too. And also the fact that
Even
they're
more
Black.
so.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
Right.
Well, that division is critical though, because again, the white supremacy, I mean, we dismiss it and we're like, well, that's just foolish. But the structure of it is so complex, and I think we can't get confused. It's evil, but they've been working on it for hundreds of years. They've every single way, and if they can't get a victory, they'll get a delay, like everything about it.
Mhm.
And what do you guys have time, by the way? Can we go a little over time today? It feels like
Yeah.
if we're good, or if you have to go, that's good. We're not, we still have 15 minutes. We have time. But what you were saying before, Deidre, the whole entitlement aspect of these patriarchal asshole men who think that they should inherit the world with absolutely no achievement or ability, and it's like we as kids growing up with my dad, like he would make a mistake and we had to do everything we could to get around it so that he didn't have to recognize his mistake because it's fragile. And I mean that white fragility, but the fragile eagle of white supremacy, it dominates everything, and it gets to the point where it's like, if you just learn to stop making this mistake, it'd be so much easier for everyone. Just get over it, get over but then you see that in these bullies in these classrooms where you have some really, really good students and the bullies become jealous because they don't have the work ethic. And again, and then the entire thing about the Republicans, well, people are poor because they don't have a work ethic, which is the every accusation is a confession thing that comes from them. But you get these extremely fragile, insecure people, these bullies, who are seeing that the class is going good, and so they just destroy what's being made because it doesn't. And then when the time comes for a position of power, even if there's like, oh, let's have a test, they just disregard the results of that test. And I know too, like this avoidance of rules. And that's something too that even now I have to be deliberate because I don't look at rules as things that apply to me, like my natural setting. And as I've gotten older over the last 10 years, it's gotten a lot better. But in the past, it's like, and there are some cases where it's like, well, that rule is just there as an obstacle. I just have to find my way around. And I think this is a real problem because even rational people, rather than destroying this mechanism of white supremacy that oppresses everybody, we're just like, we'll just find a way around. Like that's a justification. I'm like, well, some of the people coming behind me aren't a 6 foot tall white man who weighs 230 pounds. So they're not going to be able to get around that obstacle. And then, but I mean, we all have our different ways that we can. So like this impulse, and I get this from left-leaning people too, when they're just like, well, you need to quit complaining because obviously you can get by. And it's like, we have to stop our attitude about what I can do. We have to bring everybody by. And so that's an ongoing thought.
Absolutely. And I will, I come back always to Fannie Lou Hamer's none of us are free until all of us are free. Right.
Yeah.
And I think we are seeing that in this moment in a really clear way. Right. This regime shot and killed Alex Preddy.
Yep.
A white man on the street, and then called him a domestic terrorist. Right. Understands none of us are free until all of us are free.
Yeah.
That's what freedom means. I don't know if you guys saw this. I saw a clip recently of Stephen Miller talking about how we're going to have human rights for, these people, but not for those. That's not how human rights work.
Yeah.
Right? As soon as there is a subset of people that don't have those rights, none of us have them. That's what it means.
Yeah. And that's why we got to push back at the Democrats when they're willing to sacrifice groups, for the sake of appealing to moderate. They want to appeal to moderate white supremacists. Go ahead, Natasha. Look like you had something to say.
I was just listening.
Yeah. Okay. I hate it when I overtalk Natasha. That's just like the worst
no,
thing
you're not
about the world.
overtalking me at all. I'm just listening to what you're saying. Like, obviously, yes. As soon as I'm triggered. Moderate Democrat, moderate Democrat, the moderate Democrats. Like, I'm fucking triggered as hell.
I think I've heard you say before, Walter, that the moderate Democrats should go be Republicans, run as Republicans.
Yes,
and I think that's the right answer.
I've never understood why. Like, why is Fetterman still here? And the fact that I'll just say this because, it was triggering to me because this is the way my ex-husband talks, and it's just I was disgusted when John Fetterman was like, "Oh, I know your bosses all broke up about the Ayatollah," and it was just like that is so fucking racist. Did the DNC, did Chuck Schumer, did anybody denounce that and say, "Hey, we don't stand for this"? No, you know why? Because they do stand for this. They actively enable it, and more people need to be talking about that. Because internally, I keep telling y'all, I worked on the campaign in 2024. I was there from the beginning when it was Biden all the way through to the end. And it was racist as fuck.
Yep.
Internally to our own people. So I just want people to be discerning of that and just make sure we're researching things. And I'm sorry, I didn't mean to go into an educational rant. I'm not coming at anybody, but
you don't have to apologize.
Again, I get fucking triggered at these moderate Democrats who essentially they're racist, and I am just going to continue calling it out. If you call Jasmine Crockett a narcissist for the way that she ran this woman on the majority report. Do any of you watch that? I don't know, but somebody posted a clip of it on Threads, and she was saying, just denigrating her, You know, the double standard is so fucking crazy that they hold
It
us
really
to
is.
versus them. And, you know, she said that she ran a narcissistic campaign, you know, in the
Yeah.
way that she ran. And James Tallarico, for her to try to throw James under the bus, you know, what she did, you know, and calling him racist, that wasn't racist. Who are you to say that's not racist? He called Colin Allred a mediocre black man, did he not?
Yeah.
That's fucking
Yeah.
racist.
Yes.
So
And I'm no fan of Colin Allred. However,
exactly, but it's the principle,
Yeah. Don't say
the
the
double
disrespectful words.
standard.
Yeah.
And how are white people able to determine whether or not that was racist? They have no right. Because if you ask the black community, which they don't, that's the problem, is the DNC does not want to talk to us because they are afraid of what we're going to say, because they know that they've been oppressing us probably since its inception. And even then some. Is that fucking white supremacy is at the core of all of this bullshit. And until they
Yep.
acknowledge that and speak to us and stop being scared of us, we're not boogeyman, but we're going to fucking tell you like it is, because
Yep.
it's time to take accountability and grow the fuck up.
Yep.
That's how
yeah,
I feel.
it's way past time.
Way past time.
Yep.
Grow the fuck up. That's what I have to say.
And
And I'm
thank you.
sorry, but I'm
No, don't apologize. You have to stop doing that. But yes.
pissed.
And I've been seeing more people actually, because when I first wrote my article about Carville like 2 months ago, because that guy's just flat out racist and he's just like a good figurehead for this. And more people, like the first time I got resistance, but more and more people are hearing this.
Yes.
And if more and more people call and say, look, you have to dump James Carville, we are not going to give $1, because what you were listening to before, Natasha, was probably something he wrote. But again, too, another side of it. So one step is on a bigger scale, we need to dump Carville. There needs to be accountability. We can take back words like respect. It's like, because too often you get people from even on the left, well, we can't be like them. Well, if we turn the tables on the Republicans, say, I don't think you're being respectful. I think what you said was racist. I think it was rude. If we say those things, it puts them on their heels, I guarantee. And we have to stop treating Republicans like they have a legitimate perspective, because they never fucking do. And we have to attack all the Democrats who vote for anything in this regime. There was just another vote where like 18 guys voted to approve some nomination. It's like, you guys, you can't do things like that. But again, I want to go back always to the indoctrination we all receive in our public schools from an early age. Standing for the Pledge of Allegiance is complete fucking bullshit. And it's like, if you look, there is not representation in schools. It's very unusual. Almost all teachers are white. Here's a story. When my wife was getting her degree accredited to become a teacher here. Oh, we lost the camera again. I hope you're still there, Natasha.
I'm here.
But when my wife was getting her degree accredited to become a teacher in the United States, she's got a degree from a university in Peru. And they said, you are qualified to teach English as a second language, but you are not qualified to teach Spanish, because she'd taken like English 101 classes, but she'd never take like a basic entry level Spanish class. And it's like, you're telling me these rules, but you also need to recognize that these rules were written by white supremacists to deliberately deny people coming, immigrants, from being able to become, because there's always a shortage of Spanish teachers. All of this is by design. People need to start waking up to this, and people will defer to these rules. And it's like, yeah, racist rules. These laws you're referring back to are racist. How do we change that law? And if you're sitting there lecturing me, well, that's the way the rule is, then you're an enabler of racism. But yeah, I think we've seen that the white supremacists, the thing that they do, because they have so many people, they indoctrinate each other with rote memory. So they all have the same narrative that completely disregards facts. That's why the entire Republican Party they say the same thing, because if they look at the facts, they can see that they're wrong, and they can feel like through repetition, they feel like they have strength. You see that with the way Marjorie Taylor Greene talks. They just babble the same 6 talking points all the time. And we just have to start dismantling that, combating that. And again, the Democrats aren't helping us, because they don't do anything with the messaging. But again, anybody who is educated, please, please, please run for school board. School board is how the white supremacists win this. And then you can have, that is really actually the key to transforming the future. Go ahead.
Me?
Yeah, it seemed like you're ready.
Oh yeah, I was just going to say, because I have my own experience with, my son's local school board. just recently. I mean, there's like 5 of them. 2 are black women, 3 are white men. I believe all of them are registered Republican. I know at least 2 of them are. And I see, because we just had an election last year. Yeah, last year. And I went and knocked on doors for one of the women that was running because I really liked her ideas and her thoughts and the way that she cared. Essentially, she lost to a white man, which, whatever. But the thing is, like, there was other candidates and they were really like Trumpy. And I was just listening to something yesterday and somebody was saying, maybe it was you, Walter, or somebody was saying that's one of the main places that these
Yeah.
like paid Trumper, opposition people go, is like school boards. And
Yeah.
now I'm seeing how much power they have, because like I wrote a letter to them asking them what plans they're going to put into place when ICE comes, because I
Yeah.
called and asked about it and they gave me like a bullshit response. We have an standard emergency plan in place, and I'm like, well, but that doesn't include federal law enforcement takeovers, because this emergency plan was put into place like a year ago. We're here, you know what I mean? But like, they don't want to acknowledge it. You know why? Because they're white Trumpers. They're on the school board and they have the authority to withhold
Mhm.
information. They prevented me from speaking.
Ah.
They found because I don't live in the district anymore, technically, even though I was living in the district. Both my daughter graduated in the district. They've been going there for years, but now I just moved last year. Actually, had to leave my apartment. And now they're dinging me for that. In essence, I just can't speak at the meeting to raise awareness about ICE. So it's like, you have to run for a school board. You have to try to do these things, because these Trumpers, like these opposition, I'm sure they're paid by the higher ups. I'm sure they are, because they're really radical in the local Facebook groups and everything. Like, you got to watch out for these people.
Yep.
And, we, the people, can, if people want change right now, and you're running because you really want change, and people see that authenticity and see that you just want to do the
Mhm.
thing, even if you don't necessarily have the experience, you can run.
Yes.
And you should run, because we can't let these people infiltrate. That's how we got to this point federally. Everything
Absolutely.
starts at the bottom. So local right now, especially, is our main thing, and like trying to preserve our elections locally, because we can't rely on the governors or our states to do it. We have to do it. We have to find out what machines they're using. We have to find out what laws or legislation they might be passing before, like, we have to be active, and we're going to have to get to fucking work. It's a lot. It is a
Yeah.
lot, because it is all on all of us, nobody else. And that's a lot,
Yep.
but everybody has powers, so we can all like spread and do the things that we're good at, or the things that we know, the things that we're super passionate about. We all have
Yeah.
those things in common with each other. So it's
It's
important to
funny
find that.
when Trump was elected in 16, I remember having a conversation with a colleague, uh, and I remember her, like, we were having this conversation about how much there is to do. And I think that election really clued like well-meaning people into how pervasive and deep the white supremacist, misogynist, right? Like how deep the roots were.
Mhm.
And what I said to my colleague was, pick a hill. You have to pick a hill. What hill are you willing to stand on? Right.
Yeah.
And for me, that it's the hill of racial justice, which I now see as sort of inextricably linked to other theories of domination, right? And in particular to misogyny. So, but you got to pick a hill. All of us have to pick a hill where we are going to stand and do everything in our power to hold that hill, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Um, and that is, it's, you can't think about the whole of the thing because
Yeah.
it really is overwhelming, right? But you can start where you are and do what you can.
Yes. That's so important. I was talking with Lisa Hamline, who's, we're frustrated with the Democrats in DC, but there are a lot at the state level who are doing really good work. Lisa Hamline was one of them. And she was just saying, it's like, just forget about the Senate, forget about the House. It's the downvote, the down ballot stuff. There are massive budgets. And like Natasha said, all these hate groups are overfunded because you get these just horrible people who just feel entitled to this role. And then they take it and they like send that money out to people that, all the money that goes to Joe Rogan and Charlie Kirk for their hate speech and bullshit like that. But the other problem is, take it upon yourself and just make this your motto. Make Republicans uncomfortable. And it's like, because we browbeat ourselves. Like, I shouldn't say that. That's going to make them feel bad about. No, it's like, you know what makes me uncomfortable? Watching child rapists get away with it. And I bet that makes those kids uncomfortable too. So maybe if we talked about that, maybe if we didn't teach U.S. history like it's the fucking Epstein files, maybe we'd stop having child rapists at every position of authority in our government. And the problem is, though, it's like, if I'm one guy on a school board and the 6 others are Republicans, they're going to try to pressure me to leave. So it's got to be our job, and we've got it, because there's some valiant people. And I'm telling you, as frustrated again, and we are rightfully frustrated with Democratic leadership, but we also need to get down on our knees and thank the ones that are brave enough. I mean, my wife's one of these people where she's worked her way up through all these years, and she had a story when she was at her school for the first time. And people were asking her, it's like, what do you think about America? Expecting her to say how great America is because she was come here from Peru. And she goes, well, working here in America has taught me that all white people are racist. And they were just like, God, they were just like this. She's just like, no, say something about it. And use these things at your disposal. Use HR. I mean, a lot of us, and I know this is my thing too, when it's like, oh, there's this whole mechanism of ways that we can retaliate, but that's not really for us. And like what you were saying before, Deidre, about like as a kid, I endured all these things that were abuse, but I put it in my hand. It's like, well, it's not really me. That's other people being abused. What's happening to me is just something I have to deal with. And it's not till I'm 50 years old. I'm like, God damn it. I mean, all these things are supposed to be in place. And so I just want to encourage everybody listening to go ahead, file those HR reports against that misogynistic asshole at your company. Like, go after these people. They're going to pressure you to drop those charges, and don't relent and get rid of them and stay on your board of power. Even if you get pressure from fucking racists because they don't like the fact that you're speaking out for humanity, you have to stay there. So we can't have these resignations anymore. And we have to empower each other. And we're going to get a wave though. So just hold on till November. Those of you in tough situations, and those of you, it's like, there's no position that's too small. School board though, I'm telling you, school board is so important, because that's where it's so much easier to stop. It's hard when a man is 30 or 40. It's like, I barely got out of that. I mean, they indoctrinated me so hard, and it wasn't until I left the country and like broke my brain completely down by living in a foreign culture, subjecting myself to immersion in Spanish. And actually that allowed me to kind of like relive a lot of the developmental stages where I could be like, oh, compassion's actually okay. Where you have to kind of reinstall it. And we have to take this upon ourselves to these other white supremacists at every level of society. I used the example of Travis Bickle, in the film The Taxi Driver, because he takes the girl to the pornographic movie, and that's what they want a connection, but their brains are so scrambled that they just don't recognize the things that they're doing. And I'm not saying that as a justification, but we tend to ghost them because it's humiliating to just sit them down and say, look, it's really inappropriate what you just did. We have to, instead of ghosting them, we have to humiliate them, is why I keep going back to that humiliation kind of theme. So I'll turn it over again. I just get on rants.
Deidre, you're muted, I think.
Sorry. I was going to say, this sitting them down and having that conversation. This is, I really do believe this is work primarily for white people. Mm-hmm. Right? Like, y'all have to have that conversation amongst yourselves. Get your cousins together, because when we do it, they look at us like we're crazy, right? And like, we can't possibly know what we're talking about and all that. No, I started having that conversation. Like, white folks need to talk to each other about the problems of whiteness, sort of in the build up to Trump's initial election. I was like, I washed my hands of it, because we've been screaming into the void.
Yeah.
Black people in America have been screaming into this void for as long as we have been here. And still, we are here. If Black folks could have fixed racism, it would be fixed already. Right?
Yeah.
This is work for white folks to do.
Yeah. Well, I appeal to you for your help because I need guidance and I need to hear you guys' perspective too. And yeah, I do that. I do go and lecture lecture a lot of white people, but and over these last couple of years, I've learned so much talking with Will and just trying to diagnose this and recognize because we do need just this. It has to be collaborative. We need these helps. We need to build up our allies and support each other. But you're absolutely right. I was talking about with
Yes,
Marlon
so I'm
Weems.
happy to talk to well-intentioned white folks. What I'm saying is the racists.
Yes.
No, y'all got to get the racists.
Well, I've been saying, like I was talking to Marlon Weems, well, I'll try to have these conversations with actually like pretty reasonable white people, and you get this like glossy face. Like, and that's the thing that I worry about. I'm like, I was trying to appeal to you guys for what do I do? And they're like, I don't fucking know. Everyone's like, I don't know what you do. But there's just that, they give you one of these. And it's just like, oh, they've turned their brain off. They're not listening to me anymore. So continue. But I think the tactic of just like turning it to respect, it's like what you said was not respectful. And that's because that's a trigger word for the right because they weaponize it. And like everything they use to weaponize, you turn it back against them. And that they get like these little brain glitch. You see, they glitch out a little bit. And at least then they're shutting up, right? When they're just like, no. It's like, so that's where you want them. And then you got to break them down. And then we can be compassionate. But you got to break them down first because when they're full on white supremacist, any sign of compassion to them, they know how to handle that. What they don't know how to handle is when somebody pulls their pants down and exposes them for the, people without any kind of value that they actually are. And there's no better example of that than the guy in the White House who deflects. He wouldn't sit down. Any kind of competition he would avoid with all his power because he knows he'd lose everything and be exposed. Exposure, that's what gets him. Oh, there's a big comment. Oh, I have so many notes, but they're all illegible.
So
no.
who I've been listening to on how do you like deprogram people from white supremacy, and he doesn't talk about it in those terms, but Stephen Hassan, who was in a cult. I'm not kidding.
Yeah.
He was in a cult and he came out of the cult, and now all of his work is about getting people out of cults.
Yeah.
And he's written a book about the cult of Trump. I think it's called The Cult of Trump.
Yeah.
And so I listened to him about it because he has like actual strategies for like people for, I guess unindoctrinating is not the right word, but really like
it's deprogramming.
Deprogramming. Yes. Yes. Yes.
A lot.
So
go ahead.
Kimmy's asking if Stephen is anti-trans. I actually have seen him explain the critique that he got about trans issues. And it's so I do not think he's anti-trans. He has talked openly about this critique though. Like he understands why he has been critiqued this way. He said, and I don't remember the whole explanation, but I will find the video where I saw him talk through that, right?
Okay.
And share it with y'all.
I would like to see that because somebody on Substack pointed that out to me a while ago as well, because I mean I first heard from Dr. Stephen Hassan during Trump 1.0, and so but somebody mentioned that he was anti-trans, so I personally stopped following him, but I'm willing to look into it again, but I mean a lot of what he says is accurate, I do believe.
I want to address that the sexual frustration. The sexual frustration of the right is something, and I think that because we've already kind of addressed how they divide people into groups. And when I was teaching in Peru, I was astonished that there weren't these like little cliques. I thought that was just like natural to kids growing up. That's white supremacy. This is the rich kids. These are the popular kids. These are the sport kids, And one of the things they do, just like our lack of understanding of like basic human sexuality. Because I was saying like a guy like the president is a person who doesn't want to get any kind of competition. He doesn't want to show vulnerability. Well, just like the basic act, like romantic, like intercourse is vulnerability, So it's just like there's this inherent thing where they can't have a healthy sexual relationship, if he's like, if his like if you're somebody you're married to, and it's like those people you're married to, the people you have these long-term relationships, they see you mess up. I mean, that's part of being in a healthy relationship. And you can't maintain this lie of your constant superiority and have a healthy relationship. And that's why I think what we see in these Republicans, these conservatives, is they become predatory on children because they keep going younger and younger and younger. And it's just inherent to that. And I think too, the pressure is like, because they're so anti-LGBTQ, and it's like that's what I mean. Because I was like reading kid. I was a kid. I was interested in poetry. So how do you think that went over in a conservative rural community where everyone was gun owners? But it's just like the brutal assaults that I had to see, like the way that they would just beat kids like other kids. And again, this is things, just the cruelty of that. And I just lived in terror of this. Like seeing kids get chased down, like it was like animals chasing kids down and beating the shit out of them. And so, and I survived it like trembling and hiding until I actually got big enough where that didn't become a problem anymore. But that's the thing where it's like constant reminder where other kids haven't been able to go through that. But just like making it so you're not even friends. You have to beat up on the friends that are boyfriends. So you're not, that are other boys. So you're not accused of being homosexual. So they don't kick the shit out of you. So just that another way that they steal from us the ability to just have compassionate, loving, caring relationships with each other. And that's so fundamental to Republican ideology that, yeah. But I mean, if we could get to a point where we actually just encourage young boys, it's like, go ahead and experiment, with maybe a sexual relationship with another boy. Like if that's something, if that's what you want, it's like, why shouldn't we have that, in a society where because we're robbed of the ability to explore our own sexuality in the United States. It's so rigidly defined. And as we start getting into that, and the trans community, we owe them just such gratitude because they're on the front lines of this war of oppression. And it's just like, in this last year, I've gotten the opportunity to meet so many trans people, and they're so wonderful. They're so kind. Every single one that I've met has been so kind. Like just warmth and kindness and acceptance just flows out of them. And it's just that we deprive our kids of that in favor of just like this being so cruel that you can't even have a healthy sexual relationship with your partner. And that's what's normal. So that's just another aspect, I guess. Think on that one for a while.
The thing that I will say about this is you can't have control and connection at the same time.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And men in our culture are indoctrinated into having control.
Mm-hmm.
And that you can have control, but then you're not going to have any connection. And humans need connection. All humans need connection.
Yeah.
Right? And this is in a way, we're back to religion, because this sort of strict gender dichotomy is a Christianity thing, right? Like it is one of the ways that Christianity divides for the purpose of controlling, you know? And as someone who grew up in Catholicism, like that divide was very policed, between the roles that men are meant to occupy versus the roles that women are meant to occupy. And I find all of this infuriating, mostly because it has nothing to do with biology. Like these people like to say, well, there are only two biological sexes, having no idea what that means. And also that's not true, right? There's a whole, intersex is a real thing. Sex is a spectrum. Biological sex is a spectrum. And so then the idea, and then gender is not biological sex. Like the difficulty people have understanding this is it's not that complicated. We can just listen to people tell us about their own experience of their lives and believe them. That's it. That's not that hard, right? But in a world that says, no, men have power, men have control, then you can't do that, right? Mm-hmm. Because we need this dichotomy to maintain the system.
Mm-hmm. Thoughts, Natasha? I like to turn it over to you. I catch you off guard.
No. I don't know. I'm just kind of soaking everything in right now, and
Oh,
the chat's got me distracted as
oh yeah,
well
I
because
gotcha.
there's people, so I'm like,
Yeah. Oh,
but
there's a
yeah, I
lot to
think
say.
Propaganda was wanting to. It looks like he's, or sorry,
Propaganda.
there, because I'm not sure, but they are um asking the chat to call out white supremacy as a whole and just
Yeah.
denounce
Yeah.
it, and just admit that it's what got us all here to begin with, is literally the ideal of
Yeah.
white supremacy and also colonialism and imperialism.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, and I want to that
I don't think
it's
they're a bot. I think they. It seems like they're frustrated. So I just want
it's
to say
fair.
that just based on my observations. So I know some people are looks like coming at them, but I understand where they're coming from because I too am frustrated as fuck.
Yeah.
I do feel like on Substack also there aren't enough white allies. There aren't enough people who are anti-racist. I do feel that way, and I've been actively unfollowing people, just silently, that I
Mhm.
feel like aren't completely aligned, because I think I'm at the point where, like, if you can't denounce white supremacy, and I've noticed some people are even afraid to say those words. White people are afraid to say it. They're afraid to
Yeah.
admit it. And that's one thing that's about to become like a litmus test for me. So I'm just that's how I feel. And I feel like that's probably where propaganda is coming from as well. So
Yeah. Yeah.
just wanted to say that.
Yeah, and I'm always first to say, yeah, white people gotta get their shit together. Speaking as a white person, I feel I need to say that, and it's just sort of like, those people that come along like the hashtag, "Well, not all." It's like, that's a thought terminating cliche. That's a white supremacy argument. It's like, I'm white. Yes, that's what we need to do. We have to get about I don't need people to it's not about me. It's about fixing the white supremacy, so people have to do it. But I wanna say too, like, the right wing, that sexual frustration, which is inherent to white supremacy and these systems of control, that leads to violence. And that's why all of the violent acts, these school shootings, war, rape culture, all of this comes from the conservative ideology that is normalized. And that, again, it's taught from day one in school. And this is why I always bring it up. It's like, look, if you like the Pope, I mean, this current Pope seems to be good, but it pisses me off that they don't select a woman to be Pope. And I like to just mention that every time. And it's just like, look, he's doing good work. I'm still pissed off that they don't allow a woman to be Pope. I think that's bullshit. So go ahead.
You know what? I bet if we had women popes, there wouldn't be as much child rape. Just
Yep,
saying.
yep. You kind of
Might
eliminate,
not be as
like,
much pedophilia,
yep.
but
Scientists never
I
say
don't know.
100%, but it's
Yeah.
99.999 are and that applies to women in education and applies to women in politics.
Mhm. Yep. The
Yeah.
Catholic Church doesn't allow women priests in the year of our Lord 20 and 26. Right? Like,
Yeah.
this is
Call them out.
wild. It's craziness. And um the Catholic Church is still, I had this conversation with my husband who grew up Baptist, and I took him to Catholic church. We went to Catholic church with my mom, and he almost got like uh he almost became a Catholic. Like, it was totally accidental. But he really appreciated the service, like the quiet of it, and how it's like really about each person's connection to God. Like, he really enjoyed it. And I was like, no, dude, like, you listen, this is not an organization you want anything to do with. But the Catholic Church, I think, is still orienting kind of all of Christian thought, right? Because it's the first. And so everything else is sort of reactive to Catholicism. And Catholicism in this day and age is still misogynistic, is still sexually repressive, is still, encouraging and supporting pedophiles, still today.
Mhm.
And that organization has so much power and influence.
Yeah.
Even in the vice president is a Catholic, y'all. Like, it, this, it's wild to me that even now, knowing everything we know about Catholicism, right? The stories of kids being raped by priests, those started coming out in the 90s.
Yeah.
We've been knowing this, right? Like, it's been 30 years of knowing exactly what's going on in Catholicism. And still, right? Still, people will tell you, well, you have to understand where they're coming from. No, I don't. I don't have to understand where an organization that supports and encourages pedophilia is coming from. I really don't. I refuse.
Yeah. And they're so good at deflecting that. Like, they give you that, I call it resting white supremacy face, like Scott Jennings does. When you bring it up, and it's like, yeah, well, you guys support child, and they're just like, and they give you this look like they turn it where it's like you've done something inappropriate. And that's a real big thing that we have to overcome there. It's like, no, why am I feeling like I did something inappropriate when you're the people that are defending child rapists? And it makes people really uncomfortable, and they should feel uncomfortable. And I talked with Jen Budd yesterday about the degree to which Border Patrol has been doing this for 30 some years too. And it's just like you start getting this perspective that there's so much of our Epstein is just the tip of the iceberg. And there's layers and layers and layers. And, they allow these, it's like, what's stopping former Border Patrol agents from becoming school resource officers? This is why we need to be on school boards. You got to protect your kids, everybody. Give you guys a chance. I could go on, so I have to give.
No, I was just going to say I have to go in 5 minutes. I actually have a virtual call with somebody from the Working Families Party.
Oh,
yeah, just to see like what what I can help do in my area, because I was telling people before, I think that we have to have like 600 signatures in my state in order to make them like a viable party, and just
good.
based off of what I've seen so far, and I mean they've endorsed Mamdani. He is like the biggest one, and he's literally like the most popular politician in America right now. So yeah, I mean, they're doing really good things, and I just wanted to see what they're doing.
Awesome.
So I was, excited to report back after that, tomorrow or sometime later this week, just to let you guys know.
However we can help. Yep, absolutely. But yeah, we covered it. So any final thoughts, Deidre?
Final thoughts. This is another conversation I'm going to be sitting with for a while.
Yeah.
So thank you guys, both of you, for just the robust discussion. I really appreciate it. And, this indoctrination question and how
it's a big one.
Deprogram people, I think, is the project.
Yeah.
And it's an educational project, really.
Yep. Well, there's two factors. We have to stop them from doing it, and then do what we can to help the ones. But it's like, once we stop them from doing it, it dies in a generation. So, but like the older ones, people in their 50s and 60s, they're hard to reach. So put your effort on the kids and run for school.
Hard to teach an old dog.
What's that? Yeah.
I said hard to teach an old dog.
Yeah, it's true. Oh, you guys have been wonderful. I appreciate you guys so much. Thanks for holding me accountable, and all the wonderful people in the chat. And I want to continue to be a resource. I don't like probing my thoughts for those kind of dark thoughts, but I know that they're there and they expose weaknesses. So let's just do it. I want to do that.
Yeah.
So
appreciate it. Well, I appreciate you being an ally. And Deidre, we'll have to hook up and get together sometime too. It was really nice to meet you finally. And thanks to Walter for bringing us together. Deidre, I think you're muted again.
That would be great, Natasha.
Yeah.
I look forward to that.
Okay, perfect. Well, thanks. I look forward to ongoing discussions. We'll talk to everybody
everybody
later.
for joining.
Bye-bye.
Bye.